Hello everyone, just doing another reading today after a long day in the office of planning all kinds of scenarios for dealing with the emergency, and I thought the reading today could be a bit of a story, and I'm taking it from Roy Jacobsen's The Unseen, one of the 12 programme books for Calderstones this year. If you don't know it, highly recommended. Chapter 47. February. Wet, driving snow and yellow foam swept over the island, and the sea turned white. But they had to put the nets on the seaward side and had to get them in before the weather turned even worse. "What does that say?" Lars said. "Shall we go out?" Sorry, I'm trying to read it in a fake Norwegian accent. Not very easy. "Yes," said Felix. They climbed aboard the ferry and rowed around the Skarva skerries. The conditions were atrocious, and they had just started pulling the nets in when Felix fell headfirst into the sea. Lars pulled him back on board with a long boat hook, but he himself was so exhausted and numb that he wasn't able to row. They drifted sideways towards the shore, while he lay holding on to Felix, who couldn't speak, and hit land on Barøy's coast in the sound between the island and Moltholmen. He got the young boy out of the boat and wanted to do two things at the same time: carry him home and save the ferring, the boat. He squinted into the driving snow and felt the ice all the way in. How far in is that? He hauled Felix up on his back and started walking. It was a long way, and Felix couldn't hold on. Ingrid saw them from the house and ran down to help them the last part of the way. They manoeuvred Felix into the kitchen, where Barbara tore off his clothes and massaged and pounded him and laid him on the bench under an eiderdown and started massaging him again while he gabbled, his teeth chattering. Lars stood at their side, his face a ghostly white, and said they had to save the ferring and the nets. Ingrid told him to shut up. So did Barbara, who ordered him to take his clothes off as well, at once. He repeated that the boat had to be saved and went back out. Ingrid put on her coat and ran after him through the snowstorm down to the sound, where the ferring was pitching in the water, a gaping hole in its side. The rudder was broken too, but both pairs of oars were still there, as were the two empty line tubs. Lars tore off his jumper and stuffed it into the hole, and they used the oars to lever the ferring away from the shore and rowed through the sound with the sea flooding into the midsection, coaxed it round the headland where the Swedes' boathouse was, beached it, bailed out the water and dragged it as far onto the land as they could. Lars screamed that they had to go and find the nets using the other ferring. Ingrid asked if he was out of his mind. He was rushing back and forth like a crazy man. Ingrid shouted that he wasn't normal. He couldn't go out to sea again. He gave a shiver, grinned, and asked whether she thought Felix was going to die. Ingrid said no. Then she got the shivers too and had to go to bed.